Okay guys, so the point of today's video are two things you may be doing or thinking about that are affecting your lifting in a negative manner, throwing your lifts off, anything like that. So I wouldn't identify myself anymore as a power lifter, but I do powerlifting training, I do bodybuilding training, and I'm most focused on health. So I'm trying to find that balance between health and getting as strong as possible and building my physique as much as possible. So I want to stay lean, I want to get as strong as possible, all those things. And that's kind of the direction this channel is going to go. So I have some really cool stuff coming up. On September 9th, I'm going to be talking to Dr. Kyle Gillette, who he was the head doctor at Merrick Health, which is Derek, More Plates, More Dates, his company. He was over there for a while, and then he branched out on his own. And he set me up with something called a Clearly. So a Clearly is a heart scan. It's a coronary CT angiogram. And what they do is they use AI technology to kind of decipher it and go really in depth on everything to show the calcified plaque and the non-calcified plaque in the arteries. So they're both going to be an issue, but non-calcified plaque is more likely to rupture, break off, flow down into the bloodstream, flow further down into the bloodstream and cause a blockage and cause a heart attack. So this shows all of this in a very precise, precision-based detail. So you get your initial angiogram assessment, and then this goes even more in depth to show every little trace. And I did this with him because obviously I had been taking anabolic steroids for 9 years from age 20 to 29. I just turned 33. And so coming up here in November 15th, it'll be 4 years off. But obviously there was probably damage that accrued during that time. And I wanted to look into it to see, what it looks like. And I don't think there's really too many case studies of people who've done this before. I can't think of, any case studies of someone who ran anabolic steroids, testosterone, all that stuff for years, came off for a prolonged period of time, and then they looked into what their organs looked like, basically. Because I've already, I've done imaging on my GI tract multiple times due to kidney stones, and that all checked out perfectly. So the heart's the main one we worry about. I thought that would be interesting, and I had that looked into, and it was very enlightening. So we're going to go over all those details of that on September 9th, and I'm going to make a full podcast type video about it, talking to him on deciphering all of this and what to do and all that kind of stuff. So that might be something you guys are interested in, and if you are, I would hit him up, because honestly, I would recommend that to everyone. Like, yes, there is the radiation exposure from a CT scan, correct? I know there's a lot of it. I look at it like it's the peace of mind given my history, and maybe a lot of you guys, are on anabolics or have taken them, or you're worried about family history of heart disease. That might be something you want to get, a box you want to check so that you can have that peace of mind moving forward, and that's why I did it. So it's not something I'm going to be doing anytime in the near future. Like, if I did this again, it might be 15 years down the line. So yeah, I can justify that amount of radiation exposure to know what's going on in my heart. And so that's really nice. And the other thing, I have that genetic history of lipoprotein a very high. And that was something that predisposes people to early heart attacks in their 30s even. So I kind of wanted to look into this, and I'm really, happy I did, to know what I'm contending with and what I need to do moving forward. So again, like, I would stress, this is not a bad idea for you guys to think about. If you really want to know what's going on with your heart. There's other tests, there's stress tests, fMRIs, things like that, but this is the most in-depth thing you can do as far as your heart goes. And I just really am fascinated by learning more and more about the health and the body and all that. So I'm glad I did it. But as far as today's video, I know that was a bit of a tangent. So two things I talked about that are throwing your training off, no doubt. And the number one thing is slack pull. And the reason I talk about this is I've kind of been talking to a few of my guys lately about this. And, I always think about it. Like, I think about what other people say, and people make it out like slack pull is one of those things that's like a magic fix that'll add 50 pounds to your deadlift. And it's really a very subtle concept. Slack pull to me is not something I ever really think about. I get tension, I get tight through my arms. So I get as much tension as possible through my arms, basically, and that locks in the rest of my body. And I guess that's what I would consider slack pull. But there's not this huge overthought of pulling slack out of the bar. Like it's almost like if you think so much about slack pull, it's going to throw you off. It's going to throw your entire lift off and make you less explosive. So I feel like most people naturally initiate a degree of slack pull just by getting some tension before the pull. That's it. Like you're not completely loose and just going into the pull in a grip and rip style where your back rounds completely and you blow your back out. Most people, 90% of people, are not going to do that. Most people have powerlifted at all for a few years are naturally going to shift into the right position. So this whole thought about slack pull is completely overrated. It's the over analyzing of lifts that throws people off. Like I've said this before, if you overcoach to where you're picking apart someone's form, you're going to make them worse. Most people with any degree of experience lifting for a few years are going to naturally find the strongest positions for themselves on squat, bench, and deadlift. And this can vary person to person. So if me as a coach goes in and tries to pick everything apart to make it perfect, technically, I'm just going to regress the lifter and they're going to stall out completely. And and we're going to basically spin our wheels for however many months we want to deal with that. So it's something I learned long ago. You do not overcoach a lifter. Most lifters who come to me are not complete beginners, and I'm not having to pick apart 27 things with their form. And if I did, it would just make them worse anyway. So let's not overanalyze form. There are some things that obviously, are a principle we can apply person to person. But for most intermediate lifters, anyone who's been lifting a few years, don't overanalyze your form. Don't be focusing on slack pull. It's going to throw you off. The other big one, leg drive. Leg drive on bench is the most overrated concept in the game. People who think immensely about leg drive, it kills your explosiveness more than anything. You're trying to get tight. You're trying to overarch. So leg drive, if you're solely focused on that, it leads to overarching to the point where you have no explosiveness. Your butt's coming off. I've seen this many times. Not to say everyone can this apply to. It doesn't apply to everyone. Sure, there's going to be outliers. There's going to be guys in the comments. Like, you guys let me know. How do you feel about this? Do you feel like people are so picking apart their form, like they make it such a big thing that they regress? Because I've seen it a million times. I've been coaching for 11 years. And if we get into a stage where we're just focusing on form, we don't get anywhere. Like, at the end of the day, you have to focus on getting stronger. There's so many other factors than just having like perfect form on everything and minimizing range of motion and trying to get perfectly technical. So we have to focus on diet. We have to focus on the proper programming, the proper amount of volume and frequency. That stuff, and consistency. Consistency goes way further than anything else. The guys who do the best are most consistent. End of the day, my guys who do the best are just not chipping it away day after day, week after week, year after year. Like the people who just do that, they get the furthest, plain and simple. So consistency, number one. Volume, isolation movements. Like, we got to get out of this concept of powerlifting as three main lifts. Identify yourself as a fitness enthusiast. Like, focus on, yes, powerlifting, getting stronger, but focus on your physique, because it's only going to help your lifts. It's only going to help the main lifts when you do isolation movements, bodybuilding based training. And when you focus on your health, you think it's a lot easier to get through sets of 12 to 20 rep sets on main lifts when you've been doing 6-mile runs or whatever, and your blood pressure is not going out of control. So it's like, let's try to be well-rounded. Let's try to focus on our health. Let's try to do the best we can with all of it. And that's what I kind of want to lead that movement right now, where it's like, we're worried about blood work. We're worried about getting our hearts checked out. We're worried about getting stronger. We're worried about all the things. We're not just worried about one thing. That's the movement I want to lead. And it's not even everybody the hype these days, hybrid, whatever this, whatever that. But to me, hybrid begins and ends at a guy who lifts and a guy who runs, and that's what they talk about, or even, does triathlons. Where's the health focus? Let's get the blood work dialed in. Let's get everything dialed in. Let's make sure our organs are okay. We're not going to have a heart attack out there. Let's make sure all this stuff is good. And you don't have to take a million supplements either. I take 2 supplements, guys. 2 supplements, okay? I take vitamin K2, MK7, 200 micrograms a day. And Carlisle brand, if you get it off Amazon, is like $6.50 a bottle. And I know it's legit. I've checked it on bloods with their vitamin D. Their vitamin D puts my blood levels at like an insane amount. So I don't take vitamin D because I like hyper process it, and if I take any, my levels get so high I start getting kidney stones. But if you need vitamin D, Carlisle, it's like $10 for 400 pills, and it's 100% legit. So I take that. I don't take vitamin D, like I said, and then I take the She Legit from Pro Vibe Life. because they sent it to me. The guy was really nice. He's like, just try it out and let me know what you think. So I've been taking that for like 7 weeks. Not real sure exactly what it's doing or if it's doing things, but I'm going to get blood work done in a couple weeks here and see if I notice anything. So I don't take a million supplements, but the key is we're focused on health, strength, physique, all the things. You can be well-rounded. You can do it all. You can have it all. Why not? And it doesn't have to be complicated. The supplement, you see my supplementation, it's not insane. I take a scoop of protein powder on the 4 days I lift, but other than that, you know, if you want to count that as a supplement, and I will pivot. So once I max my lifts in 2 weeks at the end of this 12-week training cycle, today was the start of week 11. After I max my lifts, I'm going to start on 5 grams of creatine per day. I'm going to take out the Shilajit, so I'll always take vitamin K2, that's the essential one. And then I'm going to take creatine 5 grams, and then I'm going to take Tongkat Ali in this, it's a combo. It's got boron in it, and Tongkat Ali, and I think there's like a couple other things. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's a natural test booster type thing, so I'm going to give that a shot. And that's it, but it's just, it doesn't have to be super complicated. It really doesn't. So these are the things I would say, you know, don't be over processing things like, oh, I got to get perfect leg drive, I got to get slack pull, all these things. It's just very overrated. Like, your form's probably pretty decent. You don't have to worry about micro processing every little cue. So let me know what you guys think about all this. There's a lot of things I want to hear comments about, as far as, do you think people overanalyze their form? What do you think about the heart scans? What do you think about your health, the balance between that? Is that something you're interested in? Because from the last video, it sounds like a lot of people are kind of trying to find that balance, and I think we can strike a good happy medium there. And that's what I'm trying to do. Like, I've put on a lot of mass, but I don't want to get too heavy. I'm like 217 pounds now. So I'm trying to strike that balance, stay lean, stay athletic, all that sort of stuff. If you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. God bless you all. I appreciate you. I'll keep the videos coming. And check out my Instagram. I got good stuff on there.